it was a bit difficult for me to push this book to the world where I wanted to allow as much people to read in the beginning, and it was not happening either because it was a black author or because I don't know. It might be because the book was written by an African.
What's good? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, and this is Black and Published, bringing you the journeys of writers, poets, playwrights, and storytellers of all kinds. Today's guest is Yessoh G.D., author of the fantastical African suspense mystery, Tale, Book 1, Knowledge. As a native of Côte d'Ivoire in West Africa, Yessoh says his goal is re-educating the world on the truth about the motherland.
I want all of the people from the world to know a little bit about the beauty of the African people and the beauty of the African culture, how diverse they are, what's the thought process. Because it's not, I don't think it is shown as much.
Showcasing the beauty and diversity of African people, languages, culture, and customs is where Yessoh focuses energy in his storytelling, even though his plot was driven by an assassination. The reason he says he couldn't start writing his book until the whole story had formed in his mind. Plus, how he overcame the challenges of readers being resistant to an African storyteller. And how his work as a visual effects artist for companies like Disney, Netflix, and Apple helped him render the imagery of his characters in his novel. That and more is next, when Black and Published continues. So when did you know that you were a writer?
Oh, I don't think I knew. I've always had a vivid imagination, so building stories were always present. I think what drove me to write this specific story of a book that I'm writing was my just my observation of the world and the many subjects developed through it that I wanted to explore. It was just an occasion for me to dive into the African narrative and allow myself to navigate through the lush nature and colorful culture of the African continent. I just think I had to write this story because it was in my mind. But thinking of myself as a writer, I think that's only when I finished the book that I realized that okay, I can write more story about it. But I don't think I've thought of myself as a writer. And I think it's just because to me, maybe the writers in general have some kind of background about writing, maybe studies or some knowledge about it. But these are things that I didn't know much about it. I just want to be able to write a story, and it came out as a book that people enjoyed, and that's the only thing I can see about it.
So it's interesting you say you didn't feel like a writer until after you had finished your book, but you are a visual artist, a graphic designer for some pretty famous companies by trade, though. So when you were writing the story that became Tale, were you imagining it as a visual effects artist as well?
No, not really. Well, visual effects artist, that's a passion that I had since I was a child, and that's me loving the movie in general, and that's what pushed me to go toward this direction of working for film industry. But for stories, it has always been in my mind. I don't think if I can differentiate both the reality and the fantastical because I was always between these two worlds from childhood. And I think it's because of my exposition to many things from arts to the African culture and all of it. So stories are always built in my mind. And I remember as a child that I was either writing something or drawing something. But it's only when I got to a certain age that I thought to myself, better start writing this book, otherwise my mind was going to explode. There's too many ideas building up that I need to put on paper.
When did you start writing the story?
Oh, I will say 2009 or beginning 2010 in that area. And it took time because it was published only 2 years ago. So
Hmm.
it took time for me to be able, it was very difficult for me to write because for me to be able to write the story, I need to see exactly what I'm writing in detail from the person eyes to the blade of grass. So I had to make sure that everything that I was saying was clear before I started writing. So
Is that also why the book contains these beautiful images of the characters and some of the scenes that are incorporated in the narrative of the novel because you were having to draw it out to see it yourself before you could write it down?
that's correct. That's correct. While building the stories, while creating the characters, there were at some point there was some image that stuck in my head that wouldn't go. There were just I don't know flashes that stay and don't go out until I say, okay, I'm going to draw this picture in my book. So I had a list while I was building the story of images, specific images that I thought would be very good for the readers while enjoying the book could try to understand what these images mean. So it was a way for me to tell them to enjoy a little bit more about the book. They will be fascinated maybe by the story, but the image also will be one of the things that they can enjoy if they want.
Did you storyboard your whole book before you wrote it?
No,
Okay.
I didn't.
So then
I didn't.
over the course of like the 12 years, 12, 13 years that you were writing Tale, what did you learn about yourself as not just a writer, but as an artist?
Many things. First, while writing, and I realized that I can't write if I don't see it clearly, if I don't see the story exactly how it's happening, from the action to the dialogues to the people. That was one thing. And then when I started writing the book, I start to feel like I have a certain flow. Now I think me studying and working in the film industry has helped me um, develop clearly the images that I wanted to develop and be able to give the exact direction to the artist when came the time to draw illustration in the book.
So, when did you finish your first draft and then begin on your embark on your publishing journey?
The first draft was finished, I think, about 5 years ago. But the publishing journey started, I think, 1 or 2 years before the publishing date. And and my process was because English is not my first language. So my process was finish the book, take your time to read it as many times as possible, make sure that everything is clear. And then after that, make sure that the professionals who can read the book can have a look at what mistakes you've done that you have missed and they can fix it that for you. So that process took a little bit of time. And after that was done, then came the time to draw the illustration in the book. So it took a little bit of time also to give the exact detail that I wanted the artist to draw. And after that, it was a publishing process.
All right, so you say you finished the first draft about 2018 and then began on the process to self-publish in 2019 after consulting with an editor and an illustrator. I know you have self-published your work. So tell me what the publishing process was like from 2019 to finally getting it out in 2021.
It was a bit challenging, that's for sure. But I think because I had detail, I'll say on paper, or what exactly I wanted the publishing process to be, it was a bit easier for me to follow that process. So what happened is after the draft were done, the drawing were finished, and most of the correction on the book were cleared. It was now time for me, and what I thought was correct to give the book to companies that can read the book and give a honest thought. And that was the first process for me because I had to make sure that whatever people have told me so far when reading the book were not varied. They should have a common um, goal, like this book is good or this book is bad. So people who read the book really enjoyed it. So it was good for me, but I had to make sure that it was in the same process with the reviewing company. So the reviewing company, about 3, 4, 5 months, read the book and gave a honest feedback, I would say. And after that, it was now self-publishing using Amazon first, and then Ingram Spark. And from there, it was mainly let people know about the book. So Goodreads and companies like that will have a some readers who are curious read the book and give a feedback, and that's the way it went. It was it was bumpy, I would say, but it was. I'm grateful for what has been happening so far, especially with the awards and all of this. It has been great. It has been a good year.
What do you mean it has been bumpy? Because at first you said the publishing process was challenging, and now you say it has been bumpy. So what were some of those challenges and bumps that you
Okay,
went through?
here's what I can say. Writing as a black author can be a bit challenging, especially during the publishing side. I'm very new into the writing world, and I'm sure there are elements that a seasoned black author would have instantly noticed. But I've seen things that was hard for me to I don't know how I can explain that. But it was a bit difficult for me to push this book to the world where I wanted to allow as much people to read in the beginning, and it was not happening either because it was a black author or because I don't know. It might be because the book was written by an African. I'm not sure, but I think that it the difficulty of this book to be out at first was a bit hard because you can publish a book, you can do whatever you need to do to make sure that the book is out, but to be able to get the attention of the people to read your book can be very, I'd say, very hard. But as I said, it's okay now because more and more people they get information about the book either from someone else or a person who enjoyed the book or because the book received the award. So it's better now. But I remember in the beginning thinking, oh, that is it is hard.
So how did you overcome that? How did you find your readers and grow the audience that you have to get their attention and then even to win some of the awards you have won for your novel?
I think it was very, very calm until I won the awards. People were reading, but not as many people, despite the effort to broaden the knowledge about the book. But I talked to a promoter who advised me to make sure that I apply for awards. So I applied for, I think, 3 or 4 awards,
Mm-hmm.
3 awards. And then after a few months, it came out that the book was well received. So that was very good. And as soon as that happened, more and more people got interested. What is it about this book that is so good that it gets an award for it? And I think that's what drew people to get to know more about the book and read it.
All right. So since we're here talking about your book, can you read a little something from it?
No problem.
Tale, Book 1, Knowledge, opens with an assassination that forces a secret agent, Biafle, and a government analyst, Kobinon, to work together to figure out who's trying to destroy the government of Côte d'Espérance. As the two are thrown into a world of African sorcery that bends time between the present and past, they learn that the answer to all of their questions may lay in the bodies of two teens who don't even know their own power. Here's Yessoh.
So the section I'm about to read is to give a little premise. In Africa, in the African village, most of the time the elders bring the youngsters around a fire to tell a story. And this story, while being entertaining, is a teaching time, a teaching lesson for the youngsters to take their story and learn from it for the future in case they ever fall into the same situation of the protagonist of the story. And I wanted to convey that in that section. And the mighty king kneels. He is weak. He is wounded. He who has never before fallen in front of an enemy sees himself overwhelmed. He whose power and strength of nature has been feared for centuries sees himself as hopeless. He never thought his greatest fear would be the one before him. He looks around. His army is being decimated by the enemy. They are being slaughtered, and there's nothing he can do. But he can give up. He never gives up. It isn't in his custom. No, it isn't what the ancestors told him. He wouldn't be a mighty king if he gave up. He rises and fights. Only three of his warriors stand by his side. He yells so hard, nature herself responds. A yell of desolation, a yell of weakness, a yell of despair. Greed and his general look at the king. They know anguish got the best of him. The army of greed seems infinite. They keep coming despite the tremendous power King Ubuntu shows in his smashes, despite him destroying many with just one of his blows. His second in command has just fallen. The Great King is hopeless. He knows this battle is lost, and he can't retreat. The future of the world weighs on his shoulders. He has to protect Odom with his life. The insatiable king and his general advance with their army. They are close to ultimate victory. Whoever controls Odom controls the world, and greed has sought since the beginning of time. Now he smiles. King Ubuntu called his two remaining warriors to fall back to Odom. The vast army is advancing on them. They have to act fast. The wooden king kneels before Odom and looks at him. I did what I could to protect you. I can no more. Please use me and my men to protect yourself. Please, Odom, don't change your wisdom for just a few who seek power over others. Please be as wise as you have always been and make the best decision for your legacy. The warrior holds hands with the king. The last gaze upward, find the leaves of Odom before they yell together, Ubuntu. Then lay their heads on the bark and transform into roots. The infinite army start to fall, choking to death. Greed and his general, Prophet, stare at the legion dropping before them, killed by the unknown. His smiles has become quite rage. They retreat and swear revenge on nature. It is said that Odom walked to a place where he will never be seen again. He changed his size and shape, never to be recognized. Almighty in everything, he controls and regulates our world from inside out, protecting us from the most terrible disaster, us. Everywhere, Mother Nature is abundant beyond our understanding, beyond anything we can go through. And this is what I need, not our greed or profit. She is lavish because we are mean, because we are different, because we are one. Everyone has the right to abundance, not a few. King Ubuntu and his elite warrior gave a life to protect the tree of life from a few. He wanted everyone to share in the wonders of Odom. He wanted everyone to know how important we are to each other and to others. How important life from Mother Nature is for each and every one of us. So to him and to ourselves, we say, and everyone says, Ubuntu.
Thank you. So your story is steeped in like African mythology. It incorporates the fantastical with sorcerers and jinns and spirits and all of these different things. And you have said earlier and before that, you had to build the story in your mind, and it was building for a number of years before you put it down on paper. Where did it come from?
I think, well, from the beginning, as a child, I've always been dreaming. But I think the inspiration comes from the experience as an African child. I grew up in the city, so there weren't much mysticism there. But every chance my mom would get, she would bring us to a village. And there, sometimes there were festivals, and you get to see people do incredible things around those festivals. Or you just find yourself fascinated observing someone else's ritual at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, these rituals have been there for thousands of years. They are ingrained into the African culture. But you can help but wonder, how did this come to be and why when you're a child? And I think when you grow up, you start to realize that these rituals are not only happening in your village, they are not only happening in your cities or your country, they're happening everywhere on the African continent. And humans usually do certain things or act a certain way based on their history. So as a child, I was always curious. And even when I started growing up, what was the history behind these rituals? It cannot be for nothing. If these people are doing, even if they forgot the past, they are still doing this ritual for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the incentive for me to try and understand more about our African culture. That and the many African masks and patterns that have always been a huge inspiration for me. Because the African arts, they all tell an unspoken story. They hold a certain mind and spirit. They speak of a certain philosophy. And by the shape and form, they can be very scary or extremely beautiful. So for an African like myself, it was a bottomless source of inspiration.
Let's go deeper into that because you're Ivorian. And so you say you grew up in the city. So you grew up in the city of Abidjan, the capital?
Abidjan, that's correct.
Okay. And you also said English is not your first language. Your first language is French. Yes?
That's correct.
All right. So with all of that, and then going into the village and seeing the rituals and the spiritual practices and the mask and wondering why the culture is the way it is, how did that, I guess, inform your storytelling and diving really deep into that when that necessarily wasn't like your primary background?
Well, I wanted to tell a story. That's one thing. But what story was I going to tell? The story I was going to tell would have been about the African culture. Speaking about the African culture or telling a story about the reality of the African, one needs to know a little bit about the African culture itself. And I don't know if I should say I was blessed to be an African and born into that area to have the knowledge that I have now, and plus the information that I took from African books and the story from the elders. But I had this need to write about a fantastical story that will be based and solely based on African culture. Fantastical but very grounded about the African culture. And that's why the reader, while reading the book and experiencing the story, will at times get some information specific to the African, like the kind of clothes the character is wearing, or the description of the mask that the character is viewing. I wanted, while they are experiencing the story, to have a little bit of taste about how beautiful is the African story, is the African culture in general. And I think that's what drove me and informed me on writing this book.
What do you want people in general to know about African culture, Ivorian culture specifically, that they wouldn't know from every day when they approach your text?
I just want the people around the world, not only African, because even African, not all, but some are distancing themselves from the African culture. I want all of the people from the world to know a little bit about the African culture. And I think that's it. That's all I wanted to learn a little bit about the beauty of the African people and the beauty of the African culture, how diverse they are, what's the thought process, what the philosophy, how they think in front of a situation which might be completely different from how a Western person or Eastern person may think about the same situation. I wanted them to have a glimpse into the African world because it's not. I don't think it is shown as much.
Thank you.
Is it does it help? I hope I'm answering.
No, you're answering the question like you don't think that African culture is shown as much, so you want people to see the beauty of the people and the culture, and I think for sure the complexity of it. And I think what stands out is the bending of time in the book and the references to the ancestors and to the ancient days and to the epochs that have come and gone. So as much as there is a fantastical story happening with this like chase for griots and clairvoyance and channels and vessels and all of these things, there's also the reference to the folklore and the myth and really like the beginning of time and the balance between Mother Nature and the universe and time. Why was that part of the story that you wanted to tell with this very much like CIA level agents that are going on this quest to figure out this assassination plot?
Well, I have to make sure that whatever I wanted to convey was not lost because the story was not interesting. So yes, I wanted to speak about the African culture and the story and griot and mask, but I also wanted the reader to enjoy the book. That was the main goal for me. Yes, grounded in African history, but very enjoyable. Something they know they can always come back to even if they want to read it again.
Hmm.
And that's why you'll see that the chapter are not linear and there are pictures in the book for people to try and understand what does it mean? What is it about? I wanted the people first to enjoy, but as they are enjoying, they are learning at the same time about what Africa is. And to be frank, I won't say it is a one-to-one representation because it is a fantastical world. So we have this is the premise. Everything in this book comes from my mind, even if I have a lot of inspiration. But at the same time, I wanted them to feel what I feel when I think about Africa or about the African people. I wanted them to have this feeling as well.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's not a one-to-one because, I mean, the country that you created is the continent of Africa. And so then there are cities and like Cote d'Ivoire plays heavily in it. And you mentioned Ghana and you mentioned Brazil and you mentioned other places, but it's all of these. It's like the diaspora is like one place in the book and everybody resides there. Um, I want to move on to a speed round before I let you go for the morning. So, Yessoh, what is your favorite book?
Oh, I don't think I'll be able to name one. I would say what I'm mostly drawn to are essays or paper from African scholars. But when I decide to go onto the mystical or mystical, fantastical world, there is a lot of fantastical book from Africa and also from the diaspora, like Children of Blood and Bones,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
which I liked a lot.
Who is your favorite author?
I don't have a favorite author per se. I have many. And as I said, Children of Blood and Bone from Toby Adeyemi
Mm-hmm.
was a very good one.
Since you are a working in the film industry, what is your favorite movie?
A movie from Will Smith, Seven Pound.
Yes.
It was beautiful because of the selflessness of a person and how much he wanted to help.
I do remember that movie. I even bought it on DVD. Like that's how much I really enjoyed it. And it's so heartbreaking at the end, but then it's like a bittersweet happy ending. Will Smith and Rosario Dawson. It's a really, really great movie. Um,
Yes.
what is your favorite book to movie adaptation?
I know one movie adaptation is coming from the Children of Blood and Bones. So that's the only thing that I can say.
Whenever
But
that comes out.
when it comes out, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, then, if Tale was to get the movie treatment, who would you want to play your characters of Kobe Nan and Biafle?
I don't have a name, but I'll definitely want it to be an African or an Ivorian.
Okay. If money were no object, where would you go? Where would you live? And what would you do?
I would love at some point to go back to the motherland, to Africa, and then settle there, do something. Maybe Tanzania or or Rwanda or even Ivory Coast. Why not? But I really love to learn about different culture, especially African culture. Even though I am an African, it's so varied and so large that there's always something new about it. So yes, it would be a good thing for me. If yes, if money were no object and all of this, yes, I'll go back and just take my time and learn about everything I can know about the
On
African
the whole continent.
on the whole continent and see a beautiful place from different countries.
And what brings you joy?
Oh, the little thing is life. The little thing. Reading, that's a good thing. Walking in nature, that's another thing. And most of the time, I think dreaming. I usually find myself just somewhere imagining a story, and it's only when I realize it that I come back to reality. But I like this place because it allows me to dwell in a place which might not be real, but allow me to think about the world as it could be, how people can be nice to each other if they want to, if there were no constraint in the society that can push them toward a wall and make them act a certain way. But yeah, that's where I dwell most of the time.
Okay. And then what brings you peace?
Chilling and thinking about what the world could be. Or I think mainly I feel at peace or I feel joyful when I'm walking between the trees for some reason. And I don't know why. I just, the wind and the noise of the leaves uh, moving around or the chirping of the birds, for some reason, it gives me that calm and peace that I don't have it anywhere else. But for some reason, when I'm walking toward this, between these trees, it's a different feeling for me. I feel at ease for some reason. And I think it's good.
All right. And so my final question for you today. When you're dead and gone and among the ancestors, what would you like someone to write about the words and works that you left behind?
That's a deep question. I think I would like a person to write that the book that I've written has allowed people to learn a little bit about themselves and see that even if we are so much different in appearance, most of the time there's a common thing between us that can connect us and allow us to be kind to each other and build a better society.
Thank you, Yessoh.
No problem.
Big thank you to Yessoh G.D. for being here today on Black and Published. Make sure you check out Yessoh's debut novel, Tale, Book 1, Knowledge, everywhere books are sold. And if you're not following Yessoh, check him out on the socials. He's at Yessoh GD on Instagram and Twitter. And you spell that YESSOH, the letter G and the letter D. That's our show for the week. If you like this episode and want more Black and Published, head to our Instagram page. It's at Black and Published, and that's BLK and Published. There, I've posted a bonus clip from my interview with Yessoh about the series he's working on to follow Tale. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll holler at y'all next week when our guest will be Cassine Gaines, author of When Broadway Was Black, the triumphant story of the all-Black musical that changed the world.
Everything that is done can still be forgotten when you are a Black person in America, and there is sometimes an incentive to erase your history. People know the value of collective memory. People know how important it is to remember. And if you can stop the memory, if you can suppress the memory, then it's like it didn't happen.
That's next week on Black and Published. I'll talk to you then. Peace.